Hi, everyone. We are so glad to be back with you. Got my friends Jonathan and Sandy with us today, and we're going to wrap up our school year season of our Teacher Fuel series with kind of the unwind and reflect. So I know some schools are finishing up this week, some are going to be more towards the end of the month, beginning of June, but we wanted to give some ideas for how we can really kind of wrap up the year and celebrate and unwind and reflect. So let's get started. When I started thinking about this, I thought about one of the things that I really love to do at the end of a year. It's so crazy, it's so hectic, and it's really easy just to kind of fast forward and move on to the following year. But I would get on Google Keep or I would create a Wakelet and I would organize it by month and the things I wanted to remember that I really loved that I did in the classroom because it seems like 10 years go by, but really it's 2 seconds between May and when we're back in late July or early August. And it's easy to forget about what you did the previous August that you really loved. And so I would go in just month by month and I'd flip back to my plans and I'd go back to Google Classroom and I would make sure, oh, yeah, we did that one community connection project in August. I need to make sure I'm reaching out to that person again. And I felt like it always gave me something to look forward to. So I would go in and I said, find your top 10 must. But I would go in each month and find at least one thing that I knew for sure I wanted to repeat for the following year. And maybe, add something to it. Like I want to reach out to this person to do something. I want to bring in a virtual event. And that really gave me something to look forward to for the following year. So Google Keep, good old fashioned note paper. I love Wakelets. So another side note about Wakelets, I would use them for this type of thing. But I took a screenshot just of a couple that I have kept. I've kept some from vacations. So personally, things I wanted to remember about places we visited, restaurants we loved, little towns we loved to visit, parks that were really great. And then in the classroom, I would find myself finding things online on Twitter or on Instagram that I really love. And I would email myself all these links. So I would have 100 emails in my inbox from myself with these ideas I didn't want to forget. And I'm like, why am I not organizing these? So I'd open a Wakelet and I'd have different categories, ELA, math, technology, and I would drop those links or images in so that I didn't forget when I was ready to come back to those ideas, they were there. So just an idea for how to kind of reflect on the year and take note of the things that you really loved. And then as you're thinking about that and transitioning to making it a little bit more about yourself, because let's face it, we're all pretty guilty of putting everybody else first and the kids first and our colleagues first and our family first, and really taking a minute to think about the things that you feel like you've put on the back burner because you have been busy with everything else. Something as simple as picking up the book that you put down 8 months ago because you haven't had time to read it again. And so taking note of like 5 things, right? Because I feel like when I write down all the things I want to do, it's really like 30 things, and then I get overwhelmed when I only do 2 of them. So start small. 5 things that you really want to do that will make you happy before you get back to school in August. And then my third idea, so I've talked about STEAM in the Park and expeditions and education before, but I don't think I've shared this piece before. So there's opportunities to travel with this group. It's a nonprofit, so you can see their mission at the bottom, just really igniting education, inspiring students with real world challenges, working with the national parks and the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So this for me, I participate with this nonprofit starting in 2021, and I went to Acadia National Park, and it just changed everything for me. It was this rejuvenating renewal. There were probably 30 other educators there from around the world, and we learned about the national park, and we spent all of our time outdoors, and we helped the educational division of Acadia National Park write some curriculum to use for their students that would come on field trips. So we got to use our expertise and, learn more about the park, but then bring on in our curricular expertise to help them write and develop some programming for their park. So highly recommend it. These pictures are from a couple of places I've been with them. So I went to Crater Lake National Park with them 2 years ago, Acadia 3 years ago, and then last year, Olympic National Park and Hawaii Volcano National Park. So if you're looking for a time to spend some time reflecting and renewing in a beautiful place and among educators that are like-minded individuals, I highly recommend you check this out. And Jonathan, I'm going to pass it over to you now.
Thank you, Carissa. That is so cool. And I'm currently have my phone open to check that out. So I appreciate you sharing that. I just have 3 quick resources to share with you. The first one is just tips for making reflection a habit. I think so often in the work that we do, it's so easy to get lost in the work that we do. And so creating a habit for reflection is just really, really important. And I know we don't have time also. And I'm the type of person, if it's not built into my routine or not built into my schedule or in Google Calendar, it's not going to happen. And so I really appreciated this article because it gave some tips for making that habit. The 3 that resonated with me most is just that building reflection time into your day, like I mentioned. One of the things that I've started doing over the course of this year is just at the end of each day, taking a few minutes to do that before I leave. I also have a long drive that not everybody has to get to and from work that I really spend a lot of time reflecting also, so that I can be present with my family when I get home. One of the other things that was included is choosing your favorite reflection tool. I have a hard time with this one. I have lots of favorites. But one of the things that has helped me with that end of day reflection is more of a guided reflection. So I've created my own Google form with questions that I really want to be reflecting on each day. Some of those include what percentage of time am I spending in different areas of my day, just so that I can reflect and see if I'm really achieving the goals that I'd like to achieve based on how I'm spending my time. Also asking myself questions about how I'm connecting with people throughout my professional life, so that I can really gauge that over time. I also have just a plain old journal that I start my day with also. So lots of tools. Choosing your favorites really important though. And then the last thing is making sure that you avoid isolation when reflecting about your practices. Really resonated with me. I love working with Sandy and Carissa and reflecting on all the work that we get to do together. But it's really important to find that person in your building that you can really trust and talk to. I've started doing some walks during lunch hours with some teachers, so that we can really reflect on practice and also get some movement in our day. And it's been really, really helpful for all of us. The next resource I want to share with you is one that has to do with feeling overwhelmed. And this time of year can truly feel completely out of control. And it really makes me think of this I Love Lucy clip where they're just completely overwhelmed with the work that they're having to do with the chocolate. So there's an article for this as well, and you can click on it up here in the slide deck. But there were 3 ideas here that really resonated with me also. And the first one being that it's important that we just accept that we're never going to have as much time or resources as we'd like. I think we're always kind of wanting to shift blame there. And the mindset is oh, if I had this one thing, it would be the magic bullet that would take care of everything. And that's just not the case. There's always going to be a want for more time and more resources. So I think it's important to accept that and try to move forward with what we do have. Also, accepting the quest for perfectionism may be your enemy, and this I felt extremely called out when I was reading. So I typically am the type of person that if it's not going to be really, really great or perfect, I don't even want to start. And so I really have had to reframe over time, okay, you know what? It's going to be ugly, it's going to be messy, but we're going to make it work, and we're going to be making that positive direction forward, which leads me to the third idea that resonated with me is those small changes can lead to even bigger ones. And so even if we're taking a small step forward, it's a step forward, and I can feel less overwhelmed knowing that I'm moving in a positive direction. And then the very last thing that I have is that it's really important that we set summer boundaries. And so, one of the things that I always did as a teacher is really listed out, all right, here's the things that I must do this summer. One of those things might be you need to get your 80 hours of literacy training this summer. Like, I'm going to have to do that. Um, Things that I could do this summer, like things that I know I want to get done and are going to set me up for success this year, but are not necessarily things that have to get done. And things that I do not need to do or things I'm not going to do. All of those pieces have been a really, really important thing for me going into summer so that I can make sure that I'm taking time to truly recharge and renew myself. As a teacher, I always turned off things I'm not going to do is emails coming to my cell phone. Like I always turn that off in the summertime. Yes, I'll probably check email throughout the summer, but I'm not going to be inundated throughout the summer with those emails. So just really thinking about each of those pieces, I think really sets your summer up for success. Sandy.
I love all of those. Carissa, I am like Jonathan, and I just added the Steam in the Park to my home screen, so I remember to go back to it. And I'm huge on Wakelet as well. I think this is something as educators we don't always do. I just created a Wakelet of my professional portfolio of things that I'm really proud of that I've done. And I think we don't, as educators, if somebody says, "Hey, Carissa, hey, Jonathan, give me some work samples of great things you've done," they're all, for me, they were all over the place. So I was kind of thinking about it and I was like, Wakelet is a great way for me to collect some of those professional portfolio items that I would love to share out, whether it be with an administrator or, whatever opportunity. So I love that you use Wakelet. And Jonathan, I think the summer boundaries are key, and professionally and personally, right? We need to think about both of those things to get us refreshed for the year. So I have an article. I have a few things to share. One was an article that I found about 10 must-have end-of-the-year read-alouds. And I know that a lot of us are finishing school today, tomorrow, at the beginning of June, but I would love for our friends that are maybe on the East Coast that don't end until the end of June, they hopefully will be checking this out as well. So I wanted to share just a list of some great books to share with your students at the end of the year. Now, these are all primary books, but I'm such a firm believer that any kid loves to have a book read to them. Even seniors, as they're walking out the door, they might have a special connection to "I Wish You More." And reading that to them and just sharing I wish you more in this world. You are going to do great things. So this is just some of them. Lizzie on the Last Day of School. My teacher likes to say that one's a really fun one. Things my teacher said, and then kind of do that reflection, because the kids always mention the things that you say all the time that you don't ever remember, that just kind of flow. So, and when it's the last day of school, like I said, really thinking about even juniors in high school, this is your last day before your final year of school. Celebrate with them and read one of these books. Even though they're a picture book, they would still love that. So just here's a quick list of 10 books that you could share. And I know that everybody has plenty more, so I can't wait to see more on Twitter. All right, Jonathan, let's go to the next one. This one is 5 strategies for recharging during summer break. And I just really liked this article because it, again, was about personally and professionally, what do we need to do to recharge? One of them that I loved is just unplug the technology, not for a day, not for the summer, but just maybe set a goal for 1 hour, no technology, no social media, no computer, no even taking pictures, just be in the moment of where you are. So just set time. Like I said, once a day, maybe you're going to shoot for 3 times a week. Do something manageable, because I know a lot of us are really connected to our phone or our computer, but just unplug from technology. Just like Carissa said, reconnect with nature. And it doesn't have to be a huge trip. I am all for, I love the idea of going to the Hawaii National Park. I love Hawaii, so that would be amazing. But maybe it is just a backyard scavenger hunt if you have a kiddo. Just go in the backyard. Just the other day, I needed to get out, so I just put some tape around my wrist with my little one, and we went out and we put flowers and weeds and made a little flower bracelet. Just being able to reconnect with nature. Maybe it is what you enjoy too. Maybe it's not hiking. Maybe it's a pool day. That's still nature. Be outside, get the sun, get the vitamin D, soak it up. Explore new hobbies. I love this one. Take a risk. I am not a painter, but why not try and paint or learn how to play an instrument? Just try something new, especially if you look around our community or your community, wherever you're at. They all the time have opportunities for you to try something new. At the libraries, maybe they have a maker space area where you could go and they're doing um, um, broken glass pictures or things like that. So just try it out. I think this one is also really important. Practice mindfulness and self-care. Whatever works for you. You know, maybe you're not a mindfulness person, but do something for self-care. Go get a massage if that's your thing. Go somewhere, get a cup of coffee and read a book. That's self-care. So really identify what you need to make yourself recharge and take some time to do that. And then the last one for this one was planning meaningful connections. Um, Taking that time to reconnect with a friend, like Jonathan said, a colleague that you have that you've been connecting with in school, maybe set that time to go do one of those things, reconnect with nature, with your connection from school outside of the school building. Maybe it's taking your dog for a walk. That's a meaningful connection. It can be a connection with, like I said, a book. A meaningful connection does not have to be a human being. But what do you need to find that link that's going to fill your soul back up? So check out this article for some more ideas. I loved at the end, it talked about here comes the sun. So that's why my little son is there. Here comes the sun. And then the last one that I have was a podcast. And I loved listening to this podcast. It's from Teacher Approved. They have a whole series. If you click on the picture, that will take you to the podcast. One of the things they talked about at the beginning, though, was just at the end of the school year, take a step back in your classroom and look around and just take a moment to just look at the kiddos and look at the accomplishments that you had. Remember those hurdles that you had that you've overcome. You know, lots of times we have great school years and not so great school years, and that's okay. That's okay. But if it's one of those great school years, celebrate all of the things that you've accomplished. If it's one of those that you're like, this has been a tough year, still celebrate those things that you've accomplished and really look at how far you've come with those kiddos and think about you made it. That's such a big one. You made it. So this podcast really talks about what you need to do to get out of summer. And it talks about different types of recovery. And I really loved these 4 different types of recovery. The first one is relax. What's fun? What do you love that's fun? And that was a really hard thing for me to think about right now, because like Jonathan and Krista said, I am overwhelmed. So to think about what's fun, I was like, I just got to get through the day. Stop, take time. What's fun? What makes me smile? And what makes me feel carefree? And I think back to one of our previous ones where Jonathan talked about going around and asking people, what brings you joy? And I thought about that. What makes me smile? So really taking that time to relax and think about that. Refresh. What makes me feel like me? Is it right now going for a bike ride? Is it going to the beach? Is it listening to a story or a song? What makes me feel centered? Another one it talks about is refocus. What makes me feel most human, not just in your role as a teacher, but as a functioning adult. So it is time to take off our teacher hat for a little while. And what makes me feel like a functioning adult? We haven't maybe felt that all school year. So how can we find that this summer in the next few months? And remember that we are a successful, we are a happy, we are a hardworking, functioning adult. And then the last one is recovery. What fills up your bucket? Make a plan, do some summer prep to get ahead, a small amount of school summer prep, but really do what fills up your bucket. So this podcast was a great one to listen to. It was short, sweet, only about 18 minutes. And they have a whole series. So make sure you check it out and make sure you're doing those things to recover this summer and get ready. All right. And with that, we just wanted to thank you so much for joining us on this journey. We have had such a great time talking about the different ways to grow as educators. Make sure you check out Keep Indiana Learning at the PGPs to get your PGP points. This QR code takes you to a survey to check out if you would like to give us some feedback on this series or any of the rest. And with that, Jonathan, Carissa, and myself, we would like to thank you all again for joining us. We have had such a great time. Make sure you finish strong. Please take some time for yourself this summer. Our teachers on the East Coast, enjoy the last month of school. We'll see you in summer soon. Feel free to scan the QR code and make sure you follow each of us. Follow Keep Indiana Learning on all the social media platforms. And we are excited to hopefully see you again at the beginning of next school year. All right. Everybody have a great summer. Bye.